Well, hello, everybody. I am excited today to bring you this fine gentleman right to my right, Robert Belcourt from Cornerstone Financial. And we're going to get into all sorts of stuff today about his life, his career. And I've known him for quite some time. And it's actually amazing because I think we should start with that, Rob. I think we should start with childhood, right? Because we have a lot of childhood friends. And we played high school football together. And I'll tell you the story at the end of the podcast about him wanting to throw me. He wanted me to throw him a touchdown pass, but I had to throw it to somebody else because he wasn't open. But you know, we have a lot of friends from childhood, but Rob and I have similar businesses, me being on the mortgage and the coaching Velocity Money side, and his being on the financial side. So we wanted to welcome this fine gentleman today and talk about some of the things and some of the ways that we help people.
Great. So glad to be on the call. Frank, I love you. I love your team. You've helped me so much, even up as of yesterday, me firing mortgage questions at you. Hopefully you didn't send the bill in the mail because I'll have to take that and file it and send it back. But Frank, I thank you. You're a plethora of knowledge when it comes to investing and really how to get the money. And truth be told, the most important thing is how to get the money. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So let's talk about that. So Rob played college football. I played college baseball. And we sort of both started buying real estate at the same time, right? I never even told you this, but you're driving by my grandmother's house, which was my first rental property, in my parents' Chevy Impala that you bought from them. For, I don't know, it was like $3,000.
$500.
Oh, $500. Unbelievable. My poor father bought it for $8,000, brand new, 10 years earlier. And Rob was already buying real estate. And I think your first property was on Laurel Avenue in Livingston, right? With Spiaggi?
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, crazy. And my property was because my parents had to sell the family home, which is actually one of the lessons I teach at the seminars, because my family didn't move that property into a trust. My grandfather passed away, left my grandmother a few $100,000 in assets and a house that was paid off in Livingston. My grandmother fell, broke her hip, got Alzheimer's, or it accelerated the Alzheimer's. And then she had to go into a nursing home. And the way Medicaid works is you have to have no assets remaining. And when you have no assets remaining, they take over. So my father and my uncle lost what would be their inheritance because of poor planning, right? Yep. So 8 grandchildren later, I was the 8th in line. Asked my brother, asked my sister, asked my cousin. Nobody wanted the property. Here I am, and I had nothing. I had just started working. I had no money. I think I had like $3,000 in the bank. But I got Uncle Dean on the other side of the family and said, we're going to buy this property together. The only thing I did have was the gumption to say, I know I should buy real estate. So that was my story. So the lesson is what we do now and how we plan for the future has everything to do with how good or possibly not good the future is. And I see a lot of baby boomers who didn't plan properly. So Rob, tell us about how you got your first piece of real estate. And then we're going to talk about planning.
Yeah. So if I could, Frank, that's actually I remember that story, but I didn't connect the dots. Doing what I do now, which is retirement planning and figuring out and protecting assets from Medicaid spend down, I totally forgot that that's how you ended up getting your first house. Mm-hmm. I remember that's how you did. So I obtained my first house in my hometown. It was a foreclosure. It was it's a bank foreclosure. So the bank bought it back. And so my first property I ever bought was a bank foreclosure. I had no idea what I was doing. I had accumulated some savings because by God's grace, I had gotten a full football scholarship. So I had my communion money and my first birthday money saved up. And myself and my best friend bought a house for, I want to say $141,000 in Livingston, New Jersey, which is
crazy. You know what's crazy? I bought my grandmother's house for $140,000.
Really?
So crazy.
You'll never see that again. So 141, the house needed a lot of work, and I'll never forget. I brought my mother over because that's what you do when you don't know what you're doing. You bring your mother over, and with her great encouragement, she said, "You can't buy this house. You can't get the smell out. You'll never get the smell out. It smells so bad." Yeah. And I was like, all right, I'm buying this house. And that's how I bought my first house. Ron, my good friend Ron, had a good solid job, and I had the down payment, and we struck our first deal. So
Do you
that's
remember what you guys put down as far as dollar amount or percentage?
yeah. I would think back then it was, I can't even remember what year it is. I probably like 1994.
Hmm.
There probably wasn't the programs that you have today, which I love calling you rapid fire, trying to figure out more programs and
Of
how to get.
course.
Back then, Frank, I think we had to put 20% down,
Yeah, I think you didn't know about FHA because I did FHA.
probably didn't know.
So it existed, but you probably didn't know about it. Yeah.
That's correct. We did
And
it. Yep.
that's the funny part is still today, people think there's either FHA with 3.5% down or there's conventional with 20% down.
Yep.
They don't realize that there's a whole plethora of products in between. Like you could do 3%, 5%, 10% on a conventional product as well.
Frank, from what you told me yesterday, I literally mapped out what you told me. What I need to do, percentage down, the next step, percentage down, and then my vacation home or my second home with the 10% down. I mapped last night. So guys, if you're listening on the call, I'm going to be honest with you. This is new to me. I don't really do live streams. Frank has the knowledge, the wisdom, and more importantly, the experience, because anybody that's got a theory will be submissive to a man that has experience, and Frank has experience. So I really thank you, Frank. You really were a big help.
Well, I appreciate that. And what he's talking about is in our coaching program and in our mortgage business, we have created some products that show people how to either buy a few multifamilies year over year or a few single families year over year. And, what I noticed when I look at the demographics of people in society, right? We have baby boomers, millennials. Millennials have now surpassed the baby boomers.
That's correct.
In population.
Correct.
Millennials are very intelligent. Millennials are very well read. Millennials are good students. And millennials make money. But what don't millennials do? They don't do a good job of saving money. So my products help the millennials with low down payment options on a few properties. So if I said to you guys, and this is what Rob's talking about, do you want to buy $1 million worth of real estate for less than 40 grand? I don't know who would say no to that, right? And do you want tenants to pay off your debt for you so that at the end of this period of time, it's paid off in full? Like the American dream is to have no mortgages, right? Well, what's better than that is to have someone else pay off your mortgages for you. So that's the program we're talking about. So now talk about, at one point, you had a massive portfolio, and we don't have to go too far into it, but I want everybody to know where you were from a real estate perspective, and then it's going to parlay into what you're doing now in your day-to-day business. So talk about how you got that portfolio built up.
Yeah. So, I then from that single family house was able to leverage a 2-family and a 3-family. And then I was in the game of FHA. Then I finally learned the game of FHA. I learned it so well that I was buying houses in my wife's name, FHA. And then I met a couple of great mentors during the way, and they taught me how to 1031 exchange, taking the 2 families and the 3 families, selling them off, and then buying bigger stuff. And I got to the point where this was my full-time job. I think I had probably close to $20 million worth of real estate, and that was back then. And probably close to about 500 units. And what I didn't understand was leverage is an amazing thing, right? Leveraging. I come to realize after getting hurt in 2008, because the market corrects itself. That's what it does. So if you're rolling out there, just know that it corrects itself. And the only way to defend against the corrections is this. You have to stay liquid. And the more doors, I guess that's what they call it now, Frank. We used to call it units, it doors now. The more doors that you have, the more liquidity you're going to need, because there's more room for error. It just makes sense. So there's a fine line between of raising the capital, borrowing against your equity, buying the next deal. And I've always said that finance is discipline. It's not math. So what did I end up doing? I became a financial advisor to young men and young women that are in the real estate business. And my job is to make sure that their blind spots are taken care of. There's no cost to my service. Sit with me. I'm here to help. I'm here to identify the pitfalls that you may not be aware of. And they're out there. And if you do not identify them, they will take you for a ride. They did to me. And now with conviction and passion, I'm here to help. And I'm here to help any of your people, Frank. And I thank you for the opportunity to even be here to talk. It's my privilege.
Yeah. So you had a couple golden nuggets there that I want to rewind and talk about for a second. First off, you probably did this early on, and I didn't do this early on, which was my yield calculation, which I teach people, right? It's your cash flow. It's what percentage are you making on your down payment money? So if you put 30,000 down on something and you make 9,000 a year, your yield is your percentage of gain on your money. So I think you did a better job than I did. You know what I did? I just bought real estate because I had like a lot of piss and vinegar. I was just like, I'm just going to buy the next property. But I didn't really learn how to analyze the property the right way until later. Now, here's my point. With the proper yield, it doesn't matter what the cycle of the market does, because I'm actually teaching people to never sell the real estate, to leave it in a trust for generational wealth. So if you make 10,000 a year on a property today and your tenant pays it off for you, and then 20 years or 15 years down the road, now you're making 30,000 a year on that property, why would you ever sell it? It's now going to be generational wealth because it's paid off and all you have is property taxes. So if people do a good job of analyzing real estate with yield, and we teach them how to do that in our coaching program, you can't lose, right? So that's number one. Number two is, you said something to me a couple of years ago, and I noticed this in 2001 when I got in the mortgage business. By the way, I started out, I had 8 properties before I even got into the mortgage business. I got into the mortgage business by accident. Most people get into the mortgage business by accident. You don't go to college saying, I want to be in the mortgage business. I thought I wanted to be a high school baseball coach. And then I realized that I like fancy toys and I can't afford that. So I got into sales. But what happened was, when I started doing loans, I was like, oh man, America's like kind of broke. And they have a problem. Like, they don't have savings. They don't have retirement. They have credit card debt, right? And what you said to me was, the people that invested in real estate, when they come to your office, are much further along and much better off financially.
100%. They have such a jump because you could only save so much. Remember, real estate's got 4 things that no other asset class it has. One, which you're calling yield or cash on cash, right? I put up $1,000. I get $100 in return a year. I get 10% return cash on cash. Number 2, it gives me depreciation. So it's a tax advantage. Number 3, it gives me appreciation. We just talked about buying our houses in Livingston for $141. You can't buy for $141. So that's appreciation, right? And then the amortizing of the loan, Frank, which is where you love. Trump loves it too. Trump said, I'll put my signature on anything. You don't have to be a Trump lover or hater. I'm just telling you what he said in his book, The Art of the Deal. He would put his signature on anything if he could amortize 10 million, 50 million, because the tenants are paying down the amortizing of the loan. You can't keep up with that.
Yep.
Powerful. I'll say this last thing too, if we're going to educate here, is if I bought a house in Seaside Park for $150,000 on the water. I did not have the down payment. I borrowed $10,000 on my credit card. I sold the property without doing any work 3 years later for $300,000.
Wow.
Somebody
Awesome.
math 150 divided into 10,000. What's the return on investment there? Remember, your return on investment is not the cost of the house; it's the down payment. And I know this in your coaching.
So you know what's so funny? Because I don't know if you've been to my 2 virtual seminars in the last 2 months. I don't think you have. But what Rob just explained, it's almost to the T of what I now call the Power 4, the 4 quadrants of real estate. The only thing that we did differently is it's yield first,
Yep.
amortization second, depreciation third, and appreciation fourth. So he and I are on the same page. This is not scripted. Like, he knows this stuff cold, right? And then when you and your partners at Cornerstone parlay that into how to advise people, what's the only problem with my seminars and my coaching is if I didn't bring people like you on to help people with the whole pie,
Yep.
right? If I just say real estate, real estate, real estate, I do also advise on making sure you have reserves,
Yep.
but we have to send people your way so that we have a holistic approach to their entire lifestyle, because you don't want to have 99% of all your assets in real estate, which is actually the problem I see with the baby boomers, is they have their houses paid off, a lot of them, right? And they have no cash. Is that what you see when you see baby boomers in general?
Well, I think for a whole, I see baby boomers. I don't want to put a blanket statement on any generation, but what I see is a couple things. If you're going to invest in real estate and you have a non-matched 401k, you should not be investing in a non-matched 401k. There's no benefit for the individual. You should take the match, because if it's dollar for dollar, that's 100% return.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're going to invest in real estate, you can't use that money to invest in real estate. Yes, you could for your primary residence, but that's not who we're talking to. We're talking to people that want to invest down the road. So it's not liquid. You can't get to it. What else I see, Frank? I see credit card debt, and I see a lack of liquidity, a tremendous lack of liquidity. So my job and my team, we have about 34 advisors. There's no fee to sit with us. We are so confident that we know we have products and concepts to help you to get you going down the right direction. Because, folks, let's be candid. I was talking to my wife the other day. I lost a good friend of mine in the real estate business. Frank, I don't know if you know Tommy Fano. You remember Tommy Fano?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tommy Fano, like 51 years old.
Oh my gosh.
All day yesterday, Frank.
Was he a Belleville guy?
Yeah, he was a Bluefield guy. Owned a lot of real estate. We started together.
Yeah.
I'm telling my wife, back in the day, without the internet and without stuff like this, you had to go find the guy. You had to go find the guy, Frank, right? Like, a guy, he's a mortgage guy. He could get you 3% down. You got to go meet with him. You didn't even have emails. You had to get in the car and find the guy. So the system hasn't changed. Those 4 quadrants that Frank's talking about has not changed. What's changed is the information is out there so much easier than, Frank, when you and I first started. You had to go find the guy.
Yeah,
you remember the book you had to look at to go find the real estate? It was this thick.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And you used to wing it. We used to wing it when it came to getting loans. Like, we would just, I'm not going to mention their name because they're in the mortgage business and he's now competition. But like, we used to just go to this guy and pray that the loan would get approved. Like, I'd be like, I remember one time I quit my job in the middle of getting a loan, and the guy's like, "Oh my, what? I'm like, I don't want to work there anymore." He's like, you can't do that. So, but you're right. Now the information is there, and I've packaged it up so nicely for people that it actually, the fact that I don't have 100,000 people through my coaching program already, and we just launched it 6 weeks ago, but because I want to help 10, 20,000 people use retirement to create wealth. Use real estate to create wealth in retirement. But with you guys, right, sometimes you might have to reverse engineer, right? You might have to start with the person who's already 62 years old and about to, did I lose Rob? I might have lost Rob. I'll keep talking. Sometimes Rob's organization has to reverse engineer and advise on Social Security or advise on annuities or advise on a lot of different products that they have. But we want to make sure that we can take people, because Rob, you and I are not 25 years old anymore, right? So like it seemed like yesterday that I bought my first property and I just had my 50th birthday, and Rob is slightly older than me. He was a year ahead of me in school. So the point is that if you're 25 and you're like, I'll buy some properties when I'm 35. First of all, a lot of us did it backwards. What I teach is how to buy a 3-family, a 2-family, a 1-family, or how to buy 3 single families and turn them into rentals, right? So they're owner occupied, owner occupied, owner occupied. and then have somebody else pay them off. But we woke up and we're 50 years old, right? And so if you're 25, now's the time. But if you're 50 or 60, it's still not too late, because I just looked at a stat that home equity positions, right? Equity in people's homes went up 9.2% last year.
It's unbelievable. Let me say this, Frank. I actually did it wrong by buying the first family. The first property was the first family. I did it wrong. I was able to sell that property, and then I bought a 2-family and 3-family, and then I went 2, 3, and 2 in Burnsville. So then I was on the 3, 2, 1 and done.
Yeah,
I didn't
20% down every time.
Yeah, and then beyond that, I had to come up with 20% down. But the point being made is I even did it wrong, and then sold the single family so that I could do it right. It's exciting stuff. I mean, the opportunity is immense, and real estate it'll correct itself, but the cost of a brick today and the cost of mortar today is never going to go down. The cost of lumber is through the roof right now. So once the building's put together and you got banks that can lend on it, that's the added value. And
you want to hear something else crazy? Listen to this. What do you think the percentage of homeowners versus renters are in the whole country? What percentage own homes versus rent?
Wow, that's a great question, Frank. I'm going to take a shot at this. I'm going to take a shot and say 80-20, 80 renters, 20 owners.
No. It's 53% of America owns homes.
53. Okay, so I was
47% rent. So some people are like, well, I want to invest in real estate, but how do I know I'm going to have renters? Half the country rents.
Yep.
Half the country rents. And oh, by the way, rents are up over the last 10 years, 29%.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
And let me say this is, if you need a game plan on how to get the 5 or the 3% down, that's what me and my advisors that are on my team, Cornerstone, are here to help. You got to get a game plan. You can't listen to coaching and listen to what are we calling this? A podcast?
Podcast, baby.
Yes, baby. I'm on my first podcast.
Right. We were hoping you knew how to log in.
I was good, wasn't I, Frank?
Yes.
You can't log into a podcast, go home and do the same thing and expect change and think that you're going to get a different result. That's absurd.
Yep.
You have to implement. If you're taking notes, write this down. I love this word. Implement, which means do something. Let's do something. Right? So book an appointment with me. Book an appointment with Frank. Book an appointment with Frank's team. Get the advice and go win.
That's right.
Listen, this country doesn't lack opportunity. Oh my God, it doesn't lack opportunity. It lacks people that will step towards opportunity.
That's right. Yeah, it's great. It's great. And the thing is, at the end of the day, what Rob and I did, and I always kind of make fun of him a little bit because he was a defensive end and he was very good at blitzing the quarterback. But, there's also certain guys that can drop back in coverage, right? And go, the wide receiver's in the flats. I'm going to follow him. Rob's not that guy. So he was good at blitzing the quarterback. Me too, by the way, because I was a quarterback and I, not having a good offensive line in Livingston, I got hit in the ribs a lot with somebody else's helmet. So what we both did is we took action. We didn't really know what we were doing. We took action. But as we said before, now we have a mechanical structure around how to teach people and how to train them to be real estate millionaires. So at the end of the day, when we take what we're doing, there's all these flip guys and there's all these YouTubers and there's all these fancy words for, financial planning and all these things. Is Rob and I are two guys that have been on the street. We both grew up in middle-class families. We would make fun of ourselves and say we were the poor kids in Livingston, right? But our parents worked their butts off and we knew how to hustle. So at the end of the day, my coaching program is just as much about teaching people how to train the psychology, going to hustle. Yep. I mean, you're running an organization right now, right, with 35 advisors, and you're more of a football coach than you are a financial
no question
trainer, right? Like, I love that.
My job for the firm is to motivate and get people to move. I've got very smart people. I have two MBAs from Wharton. Both are CPAs. Kevin Zabrowski's an attorney. We've got smart people on staff. It's my job is to motivate them, to get them to move, right? So my time is limited here, Frank. I got to get on a 12:30, but I love this. I would love to do this, and I guess all we're doing is really fireside chatting here.
Fireside chat. So here's how do they get, Jasmine's so good, watch this. How do they get in touch with you? Give your email address right now.
Yep, that'll be great. So it's can I do my cell phone and they can text me? Is that acceptable or no?
If you want your cell phone out to the web.
That doesn't bother me.
That's all good.
All right, so my cell phone, you can text me, right? 973-418-4841. And my email is core, C-O-R-E, realty, R-E-A-L-T-Y, corp @gmail.com. So core realty corp @gmail.com.
Great.
Last name is Belcourt. If you want, friend me on Facebook. I'll friend you back. Just inbox me. Tell me you met me on the Velocity of Money. Frank, I love you. I love your staff. I love what you're doing. You're helping people. I love being a part of this, and I hope you invite me back. I really do.
Yes, this was a lot of fun. So also, Jazz put up the my information because she always does it so fancily. And what I'll say is, what Rob and I just talked about is about 1% of what we do for people. So we just wanted to have a little tidbit. He's going to go eat grilled chicken over arugula salad, and I'm going to go to my my next meeting. If you guys need anything, any help, we love helping people. God bless, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.